This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everyone, I'm Jody Collada with Wellspring Solutions. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not familiar with Wellspring Solutions, we are a nonprofit home and community-based agency that offers services to older adults in Guilford County with our memory care center, Connections, a memory club. Those are group respite locations. We have home care, caregiver education and support, and our navigator program. So right now, of course, we are doing our classes virtually, and today we're going to be talking about balancing work and family caregiving. So with the pandemic, there are so many people working from home, and working parents are having to navigate, homeschooling, remote learning, keeping their children engaged. And while they are extremely challenged, we also need to pay attention to those employed caregivers of a loved one, a spouse or a parent who's caring for someone with a chronic illness. And we'll be talking about when you're caring for someone with dementia and you have to balance work and those responsibilities. They are under tremendous amounts of stress. And if you can even imagine being in the sandwich generation, you're caring for a loved one, your children, and you're also caring for an older parent. So bringing work on top of all of that makes things just so incredibly challenging. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to just navigate balancing work and family caregiving. And if we, talk about balance, balance can mean different things to different people. Does balance to you mean that all the areas in your life are equally represented? I mean, that might just be such an impossibility. Maybe it's a feeling that you get when you feel like things are in balance, a peacefulness, being in control, a sense of calm. Um, I've read several different articles about balance from bloggers and from just life coaches, and they define it in different ways. But when you talk about balance for a caregiver, a lot of times it's thought of as your needs are met as well as the needs of your loved one. And you do that through self-care. And self-care is very difficult for many caregivers to put as a priority or to make time for. And then also now we're talking about working from home during COVID-19, and it makes things just all the more challenging. So I'm going to share some tips with you to hopefully navigate maybe this newer situation for you and hopefully just find some balance so that you can take care of yourself, which will in turn be good care for your loved one and avoid caregiver burnout. Okay, so let's talk about the challenges. So there's a lot of different challenges that come with COVID-19, and really we're talking about, in normal circumstances, there's a lot of challenges, but right now, first and foremost, adult day programs, senior centers, and other community supports have been temporarily suspended. And that could mean that opportunities for organized recreation, movement, creative expression, mental stimulation, and social interaction, you know, they're just left without at this point. And it also might mean that the caregiver is now providing the meals, the snacks that would otherwise be provided at the center. So on top of that, you have to be thinking about how to meet your loved one's physical, social, mental stimulation needs so that they don't decline at home. So there's just so much to be thinking about. Next, going to work for so many served as a break from the day-to-day stressors and challenges of caregiving. So now you might be working solely from home. Maybe you're expected to go into the office, but your loved one isn't safe at home due to their cognitive abilities, and the program he or she attended is currently closed. So that certainly poses a challenge. Increased caregiving responsibilities without much of a break, and you may be responsible for figuring out delivery of groceries, medications, running essential errands, all trying to keep your loved one safe at home, managing their risk of exposure with extra cleaning, disinfecting, ensuring that your loved one is hand washing, And then if you are thinking about home care, you're weighing the risk of having someone come into the home with the benefit of giving some much needed help and respite. So there's just a lot to be thinking about. And all the while, you have potential Zoom meetings, conference calls, deadlines that demand your attention. So in all of this, it seems very difficult to then go ahead and make time to care for yourself. So, and it made me think I have that one last on my list, and I certainly hope it's not last on your list in terms of priorities, because it really is so very important that you take care of yourself in normal circumstances, and certainly during this very trying time in our history. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about caregiver burnout, because there's a very real concern that you are going to burn out. Providing care for a loved one while holding down a job can lead to exhaustion, and during COVID-19, it can certainly put you in a position where you're going to burn out, which is when you are, it's a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. And it can be accompanied by a change in attitude from, what brought you to caregiving to that role in the first place, positivity and love and compassion and care for a loved one. When you're burnt out, that attitude can change to negativity, to apathy, and the opposite of why you began caring for someone in the first place. It can put you at risk for chronic illness due to being run down and stressed all the time. And it can make the risk of hypertension and flu and depression and stroke higher. So, if you do become exhausted, you are also more likely to make poor decisions and take out your frustrations on your loved one. So it becomes an unhealthy situation for you both. So how do you know if you are experiencing caregiver burnout? Let's go ahead and look at some of the signs. There's many. Your immune system's weakened. You even after a break or some rest, you still have a sense of this fatigue. You don't feel refreshed. When you have help, you don't feel like you can relax. You might be noticing some changes in your mood and feeling helplessness and hopelessness. You might note that you're having lapses in your self-care. You're losing an interest in hygiene and grooming. Your sleep pattern could change. It could be that you're having trouble falling asleep, or that once you're asleep, you're having trouble staying asleep. You wake up and you just cannot, your mind's racing. You can't get back to sleep. As we just talked a little bit about, caregiving gives you little satisfaction. So you might not be feeling that sense of reward and the good feelings that can come from taking care of a loved one. Having a sense that everything is out of your control. You might be using alcohol or drugs as a way to cope. And be mindful that if others have expressed concern about your well-being, they're doing it from a place of love and worry about your health. So please keep in mind these signs. And now we'll kind of go over some tips to hopefully just help you, balance, as we've talked about. And I've got some tips. There's 9 of them. The first one is developing a routine. So routines provide us with a sense of comfort and control. And those are the things I talked about in the beginning. If you have a sense of control, that might be, again, how you define balance. So routines can help with that. Maintaining a sense of normalcy can be a way to ease feelings of anxiety and uncertainty during this time. And routines just overall benefit your mental health. The calming sense of routine is so helpful to your loved one with dementia because it gradually impairs your loved one's ability to plan, initiate, and complete an activity. So knowing when to expect, when to get dressed, to take medication, meal times, using the bathroom. Maybe there is a show that they watch on a daily basis, certain activities, exercising. Hopefully, your loved one will be benefiting from this routine and also be less likely to get worried and disrupt you while you're working. And for you too, setting a schedule each day, a routine including daily work tasks. Um, this will hopefully offer a better perspective for you of where your time should be allocated. So, lessening potential for interruptions. When possible, you can try and set limits for when you're able to be interrupted. Let your loved ones know when it's okay. If they need to use the restroom, if they don't feel well, maybe you can if you can share that when you're in your office for a certain phone call, you're not to be interrupted unless those circumstances are warranted. And of course, your loved one with dementia may not understand these boundaries, so just do your best before settling down to your work tasks. Make sure your loved one's safe and comfortable. Offer reassurance, and it may also help to let them know that you'll be back to check on them again, but in the meantime, you have some tasks that you need to tend to. Also, communication. Have that conversation with your employer. Let them know the situation. You may have access to an employee assistance program, an EAP. They can be a very helpful resource. Often those programs include short-term counseling, referrals to services in the community, or state-specific programs that can help you manage. So while your employer might know that you have a loved one at home that you take care of during this COVID-19 and different community supports that are suspended, just really share with them what you're experiencing. Next, try to be realistic with your expectations, and those are expectations of yourself and your loved ones. There's not much that we feel like we might be in control right now, but we can listen to our feelings, we can be kind to ourselves, we can engage in healthy activities, and we can just do the best we can and keep reminding ourselves that we're doing the best we can. So try to just be realistic with what you're able to accomplish every day. And tomorrow's another day to fulfill those tasks. So just try to be realistic with your expectations. Communicating again, not only with your employer, but with family and friends, those you trust. Share your needs, share your feelings. You don't want to keep them bottled up. And if you can ask for and accept help, be specific with what you need help with. Just communicate. People they're not going to be able to read your mind. So just share what you are going through. Maybe a friend or a neighbor could, do something for you if you are specific, like cutting the grass. Maybe they could grocery shop for you and leave the items on your porch. But again, just while we're physically distancing, it's so important that you stay connected, socially connected. And if you feel as though you have had a family meeting in the past and that has been a successful method for you and your family to talk about caregiving in general, maybe you want to think about considering a virtual family meeting. It can help you, again, express your feelings about what's going on right now, the multiple responsibilities you're juggling every day. And typically the goals for a family meeting are to increase communication, let everybody just kind of be heard and hopefully find some solutions. Everyone is going to come with a different skill set, different strengths. So maybe you would be able to just get some good ideas and get some resources. So next, okay, practicing self-care. I know that you have heard that so many times, but it's just so incredibly important that you put yourself as a priority to take care of yourself. And that includes many things. Self-care can include sleeping well, eating well, having healthy nutrition, a balance of time to yourself and socially connecting, as I've talked about. physical exercise, just taking a walk, um, spiritual practice, if that is if that's going to lift your spirits, positive relationship building. It's really important that you take pockets of time to take care of yourself. And there are ways to relax and to manage your stress. Those include mindfulness practices, deep breathing exercises, guided imagery. I have done videos on those topics that are accessible on our website. So hopefully you can use those as a resource. There's a wealth of resources on the internet that you can download for guided imagery and progressive muscle relaxation. So please take some time to care for yourself. You might also consider joining a virtual support group. You are not alone. We all experience this pandemic in different ways, but if you are caregiving for a loved one with dementia and you are working, there are folks that are doing the same, and it might really benefit to share your story, to share resources, to offer support, as well as get support from other caregivers. You can check out our virtual support group info for the month of May also on our website. And I'm going to share that with you here. So basically for, let's see, let's get you back. There we go. Okay. Here are a list of our services. Again, our memory continuum. We offer our dementia dialogue program, memory fitness, and memory screenings, and we will do all those when we are back to some semblance of normalcy and we're able to get together. Our connections, our memory care center. And if you do have any questions about our services, you can contact Nicole, our social worker, our navigator. The information is here, but again, visit our website. If you go to wellspringsolutions.org, you can get navigated to our caregiver support page, which will list our upcoming topics for videos. It will also share our virtual support group information. And lastly, I just want to share that you have an opportunity to make a consumer contribution if you wish to Wellspring Solutions. We are funded through the National Family Caregiver Support Program of the Older Americans Act, which requires that we give you an opportunity to voluntarily contribute to our organization. And all contributions are kept confidential. If you have an interest in making a consumer contribution, please know that it is greatly appreciated and it just expands our program to folks that are in need. You can direct funds to Wellspring Solutions at 4100 Wellspring Drive, 27410 in Greensboro, North Carolina. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope that you stay well, that you stay in good spirits, that you can just find some way to take care of yourself and be well. Thank you so much.